Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Shishi Nitai Gauda Shitanata Pramanande. Mukam Karadi Vachalam Pangum Langate Girim Jakrapatamaham Vande Sri Gurum Dinatarinum. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Dharma Projita Gaitava Atra Panamani Sananam Satam Vidamadam Vashta Shivadam Tapatrai Unmulanam Srimad Bhagavatam Mahamanekrit King Vaipara Ashara Ishra Ridi Avarudade Atra Kriti Vish Dakshanat 28 30 What is written? Yad Yachchiro Nanamate Anga Shataika Shishnash Tan Tan Mamarda Karadanda Dharon Gipatai Kshinayusho Brahmata Ulbadam Ashatongshi Kshinayushu Brahmato Ulbadam Ashatoshin Nashto Bhaman Paramakashmalam Appanagaha Yadyat Chirona Namatenga Shataika Shishnash Tan Tan Mamarda Kara Dhanda Dhadon Gipatai Shinayushu Brahmata Ulbanam Ashatoshin Nashto Baman Paramakashmalam Apanagaha. Please chant. Matri Mandali. yad yad, whichever, shiraha, heads, na namate, would not bow down. Anga, my dear King Parikit, Shata Eka Shirshnaha, of him who had 101 heads. Tat tat, those. Mamarda, trampled down. Kara, on those who are evil. Danda, punishment. Dharaha, the Lord who exerts. Angri patahai, with the blows of his feet. Kshinai ayushaha, of Kaliya whose life was becoming depleted. Brahmataha, who was still moving about. Olbanam, terrible. Ashnataha, from his mouths. Ajrik, blood. Nastaha, from his nostrils. Baman, vomiting. Parama, extreme. Kashmalam, trouble. Apaha, experienced. Nagaha, the serpent. We'll read verses 28, 29 and 30 translations and text 30 purport. My dear King, Kaliya had 101 prominent heads, and when one of them would not bow down, Lord Sri Krishna, who inflicts punishment on cruel wrongdoers, would smash that stubborn head by striking it with his feet. Then, as Kaliya entered his death throes, he began wheeling his heads around and vomiting ghastly blood from his mouths and nostrils. The serpent thus experienced extreme pain and misery. Exuding poisonous waste from his eyes, Kaliya would occasionally dare to raise up one of his heads, which would breathe heavily with anger. And the Lord would dance on it and subdue it, forcing it to bow down with his foot. The demigods took each of these exhibitions as an opportunity to worship him, the primeval personality of Godhead, with showers of flowers. My dear King Parikit, Lord Krishna's wonderful, powerful dancing trampled and broke all of Kaliya's 1,000 hoods. Then the serpent, profusely vomiting blood from his mouths, finally recognized Sri Krishna to be the eternal personality of Godhead, the supreme master of all moving and non-moving beings, Sri Narayan. Thus, within his mind, Kaliya took shelter of the Lord. Purport. In Volume 1, Chapter 16 of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Srila Prabhupada points out that whereas previously Kaliya was vomiting poison, now his poison was exhausted and he began to vomit blood. Thus, he had been cleansed of the vile contamination within his heart that had manifested as serpent's venom. The word shmritva, remembering, is very significant here. The wives of Kaliya were actually serious devotees of Lord Krishna. And according to the Acharyas, they had often tried to convince their husband to surrender to him. Finally, finding himself in unbearable agony, Kaliya remembered his wife's advice and took shelter of the Lord. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that Kaliya's arch-rival had traditionally been Garuda, the carrier of Vishnu, but now Kaliya realized that he was fighting an opponent who was thousands of times stronger than Garuda and who therefore could only be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, Kaliya took shelter of Lord Krishna. Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Text 16 of the chapter, I'm reading the translation, that seeing so many inauspicious omens in Vrindavan, Nanda Maharaj and the cowherd men and the residents of Vrindavan were thinking the worst. They concluded that Krishna had met with his death because he went that day without Balaram. All the inhabitants of Vrindavan, including the children, women, and elderly persons, thought of Krishna just as a cow thinks of her helpless young calf. And thus, these poor suffering people rushed out of the village intent upon finding him. They're thinking of Krishna, even though Sri Krishna is the Param Purushottam, Supreme Personality of Godhead, the special feature, the distinctive feature of Brajabhumi and Braja Prem, the way the devotees in Vrindavan love Krishna, just like Bhagavatam, their relationship with Krishna is like that of a cow towards the calf. That is full of sneha and affection and a sense of protecting. He's dependent upon us. In text 19, they hurried along the path of the Jamuna river. They saw from a distance Krishna was in the lake, motionless within the coils of the black serpent. They further saw that the cowherd boys had all fallen unconscious, and the animals were standing on all sides, crying out for Krishna. Seeing all this, the residents of Vrindavan were overwhelmed with anguish and confusion. This is Braja Prem, that in such circumstances, the love of Krishna is greatly enhanced. The Krishna consciousness, absorption in Krishna is greatly enhanced. And therefore, Krishna in Vrindavan is playing pastimes which enhance the bhav of his devotees and deepen their absorption in him. So, in this way, even though he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because they're thinking of him just like a cow thinks of their calf, that they're deeply absorbed. And Krishna actually, he covers his opulence in Vrindavan so that the Brajabasis completely fall in love with him as their child, as Nanda Dulal, and in this case as like a calf of the cow. Mahaprabhu is explaining to Srila Rupa Goswami in Madhya Lila chapter 19, Chaitanya Charitamrita, that Kebala Shuddha Prem Aisharja Na Jane Aisharja Deklio Nija Shambhanda Shemane. In Vrindavan, the type of love that the residents have for Krishna is called Kebal Prem. Kebal Prem, Rupa Goswami describes Kebal Prem, as distinct from the love of Godhead which is experienced in the Vaikuntha, which is called Aisharja Jukta Prem. Aisharja Jukta Prem, or Mahima Gyan Prem. In Vaikuntha, the devotees, they never forget that Krishna and Narayan and Vishnu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They never forget that. They always remember that. And they love him in that way. Even the avatars we see in Srimad Bhagavat, Kapil Muni and Nrsimhadev, Vaman, even Vaman is in a small child form. But the devotees, they always remember he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that is their bhav. But in Vrindavan, they forget that. They forget that. So that the Shambhanda, Nija Shambhanda Shejani. Nija Shambhanda means their intimate relationship as a parent, as a friend, as a lover. Nija Shambhanda Shemani. Aisharja Deklio. Nija Shambhanda Shemani. Even when Krishna displays his opulence, then just like when he came back from the pasturing grounds and Balaram says, oh, today Krishna ate clay. And Madhya Soda says, is that so? And Krishna says, no, Balaram is some conspiracy against me with his friends. And Madhya Soda says, come and let's see. Krishna sits on her lap, and then what does she see? Virat Rupa. Now, as Aishwarya Deklayo, he shows opulence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Momentarily, Madhya Soda, she thinks about Atma Tattva Gyan. Momentarily. And she thinks, why am I wasting my life here in householder life in this village? I should be searching after the absolute knowledge of the absolute truth. Momentarily, she thinks that, seeing the Virat Rupa. And then she says, oh, you foolish woman, you have no time for this Atma Tattva Gyan. You have to feed your child. You know. Now, after showing Vishwarup, after seeing that, how many people did Madhya Soda tell? She didn't tell anybody. Could you imagine you put your child on your lap, opens his mouth, and you see the Virat Rupa? I mean, it would be all over your Facebook page. It would go viral. You would tell everybody, why does open the Virat Rupa? She doesn't tell anybody. Why doesn't she tell anybody? Because it's not important for her. You imagine? This is Sambandha. This is the Nija Sambandha, Shaimane. More important to her is my child. He's hungry. I have to feed him, give him my breast milk, clothe him, bathe him. He shows the universal form. Who cares about that? What's beautiful is his glances, is his smiling, is his reciprocating with us. This is Braja Prem. And here, in order to enhance the feeling, this absorption in Krishna. So the Brajabasis, they're not thinking, oh, Krishna, he's God. He can release himself from the grips of Kaliya. They're not thinking that, and in this way, the mood is enhanced. Now, last night, actually, we had a class, and one young girl, she asked me that why is it that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not known as the Supreme Personality of Godhead? He's not known. He's covered. So similarly, in Navadip Dham, we see that Mahaprabhu, he covers his opulence as the Supreme Personality of Godhead in order to play the role of Navadip Chandra, a Dvijamani, the crash jewel of the Navadip Brahmins. When Vishwarup would go to the house of Advaita Acharya every day and give his Gita, Prabhachan, which enchanted all of the Vaishnavas, and Sachimata would send Nimai to call him back for lunch. And he would go there in the assembly of Vaishnavas, and he would be pulling on the dhoti of Vishwarup. Janani Dakshin, Bhojan, now you come for lunch. Now, all the great Vaishnavas, these same residents of Vrindavan that we hear here who are running down the path to the Jamuna, in Navadip, they all appeared as Brahmins and Pandits and associated in the Advaita Shaba. Gaurangera Shangi Gane Nita Shidha Korimane. The associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Navadip, they're all Brajabasis. Brajendra Nandana Jai Shachi Shuta Hoilo She Baladama Hoilo Nitai. Nanda Baba and Jashodama, they're Jagannath Misra and Sachimata in Mayapur. And as Nimai is pulling on on the dhoti of Vishwarup, all of the Vaishnavas, they're seeing that, they became stunned, like Samadhi Prayi, almost in Samadhi, just seeing that. And they were unable to even carry on discussing about Krishna. At that time, Advaita Mahashai, Advaita Thakur, even though he prayed along with Haridas Thakur, Advaita Thakur, he's sitting on the banks of Ganga in Shantipur. What is that? Chalasha Chulukalenava, Tulasi Dalamatraina, one Tulasi leaf, Jalasha Chulukalenava, Bikrinatam Swanatmanam, Bhaktebhyo Bhaktavat Salaha. Simply by, he read in the Guru Purana that simply by Tulasi Dalamatraina, one Tulasi leaf, and Jalasha Chulukalenava, enough Ganga Jal that you can put in the palm of your hand. Bikrinatam Swam Atmanam. With these simple offerings of one Tulasi leaf and a little bit of Ganga Jal, the Lord becomes so pleased, Bikrinetam swam atmanam, that he sells himself. Bikrinetam swam atmanam. He can only give himself in reciprocation for such an offering of one tulasi leaf and a little Ganga Jal. And if you're not fortunate to live on the banks of Maganga ki, and regularly drink Ganga Jal and bathe in Maganga and collect the waters of Maganga for puja. If you don't have such fortune, occasionally you should visit Mayapur and collect the Ganga Jal. But in any case, you can invoke the presence of Maganga through mantra. Ganga Pataka Shanghantri Ganga, what is it? Ganga Pataka? Shukada Mokshada Ganga Gangaiva Paramagati. You can chant the mantra when you're bathing. Ganga, Ganga, Ganga. And then she manifests in the sound of a name. So you can invoke Ganga Jal by mantra. And in this way, similarly, please the Supreme Personality of Godhead greatly in your puja, so much so that he will give himself. So that Advaita Thakur, who sat and prayed for the Lord, cried for the Lord to appear, and worshipped his Shalagram Shila. That same Advaita Thakur, he couldn't recognize that Nimai is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even though he called him to appear. Even he's coming every day. They're neighbors, actually. They're neighbors. It's just a few less than 2-3 minutes walk. Advaita Bhavan to Shachi Angan. Just a few minutes walk. He sent his wife at the time of the appearance of Sachinandan. He knew everything, but he's seeing Nimai come and pulling on the dhoti of Vishwarup. Moni moni chintai Advaita Mahashai Prakrita Manushto e baloknai. Moni moni chintai Advaita Mahashai. He's thinking. Moni moni chintai. He's not sure about it. Moni moni chintai. He's thinking. Moni moni chintai means that it's coming again and again in his mind. Moni moni chintai Advaita Mahashai Prakrita Manushto e baloknai. This boy is not material. This boy is not material. Because how could a material being steal away my mind in this way? How could an ordinary person steal away my mind? So in this way, even Advaita Thakur, who is a Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mahavishnu, he doesn't interact with Nimai in such a way that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's thinking he's an ordinary boy. In this way, occasionally answering that question, why Mahaprabhu is not revealing himself as the Supreme Lord. And similarly, Krishna in Vrindavan. Such display of opulence disturbs the mood of the devotees, and they're unable to, just like Mahaprabhu gives the example of Vasudeva and Devaki. When Krishna came from Vrindavan to Mathura, first time, to engage in the wrestling match and Kamsa in the wrestling arena and everything, that incident, the first arrival in Mathura after his going to Vrindavan. So he came, Krishna and Balaram are wandering through the streets of Mathura and seeing the tailor, seeing the flower garland and taking the clothes and wearing the flower garland and killing Kuvalaya Pida. And then Chanura and Mushtika, the great huge wrestlers, killing them in the arena. And then dragging Kamsa down from his platform and then beating him. All of this went on, but Krishna and Balaram, they arrived in Mathura. They're wandering around. Vasudeva and Devaki were there, but they didn't go to see Vasudeva and Devaki directly. First of all of that lila, killing Mashtuka and Chanura, killing Kamsa. Vasudeva and Devaki were watching this. And then after that incident was concluded and Vasudeva and Devaki, they came before Krishna. At first, Devaki is feeling to embrace Krishna. She's having the feelings that my child, after so many years, he went, a young baby, I haven't been able to exchange in maternal affection with my son, my child. Seeing Krishna, she felt those feelings, that I want to embrace him. And then she remembered he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so she restrained herself from acting in such a familiar way. And Mahaprabhu is explaining that this remembrance of the supremacy of the Lord, it actually impedes the intimate interaction. Intimacy in interaction is impeded. One feels some fearful. One feels some fear, some awe and veneration is there, and one is afraid to act in an intimate way. So therefore that is removed. That is removed in Vrindavan, in Braja Leela, and also in Navadip Leela. This is removed so that why is it removed? In order to reciprocate with the devotees' desire to fully merge their heart and consciousness in this mood of loving Krishna according to their desire, as my child, as my friend, as my lover. In order to reciprocate with the devotees a pure desire to serve Krishna in that way, Krishna therefore he bewilders them. He bewilders them. They're in a type of illusion, in a type of moha. This is Jogamaya. They're bewildered, so much so that even the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Advaita Thakur, he's not sure. He's thinking perhaps it's a possibility. And when Mahaprabhu, he came back from Gayadam, at that time, before in the Vidya Leela, Sachinandan, he would make fun of the Vaishnavas. He's walking on the road like a triumphant lion, strolling. Sachinandan, Gaudhari, Dvijamani, the crest jewel of the Navadip Brahmin, strolling down the road with his students, ready to debate with any Pandit who would dare to engage in argument with him. What is that? Adikonda, can't remember that. So this Vidya Leela is the crest jewel of the Navadip Brahmins. And the Vaishnavas, they would see Mahaprabhu, they would see him. And then they would go off out of the path. They would go away. And seeing them, Mahaprabhu said, just see, these Vaishnavas, they saw me and they took another path. Why is that? And the students said, perhaps they remembered some urgent work that they had to immediately see to. And Mahaprabhu said, no, because I am engaged in grammar, Vyakaran, Alankar, and they only want to hear about Krishna's glories and discussions of Krishna. So therefore, they don't like to be in this way, to have to confront me and be embarrassed by me, and I would make fun, I would ridicule them in this way. And then he said, but just see, I will become such a Vaishnav. He was as Navadip Brahmin. It's allowed for Brahmins to be a little proud. He would say, just see, I will become such a Vaishnav that Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma will come and fall at my feet. I will become such a Vaishnav. So, but he's not the devotees in Navadip, they're simply desiring, if Nimai would become a devotee. If Nimai would become a devotee. He would smash all of the smartas, all of the atheists. He would defeat them. Who could stand if he were to become a devotee? They would prostrate themselves on the banks of Ma Ganga and pray, "Oh Ma Ganga, please make Nimai Pandit a devotee, so that we can associate with him." They're always desiring. They're always thinking of him. If only their meditation was, if only Nimai would become a devotee. And then when on the play of performing the Shraddha ceremony for Jagannath Mishra, Vishwambar, he goes to Gayadam and comes back, and of course in Gayadam is meeting Ishwarapuri and being influenced by the Tirtha of Madhusudan, the Gaya Dham, where the lotus feet of the Lord are there. Madhusudan, Mayashur, the demon, pushed down on the lotus feet. If you've been to that temple in Gayadam, it is a very wonderful place. And they're very much appreciative of ISKCON devotees, even the ISKCON foreign devotees. When I was there, they showed me in the guest book the hand signature of His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj in Gayadam. So Sachinandan, he was overwhelmed by the influence of the Holy Dham. He went there seeing the Brahmins chanting Vedic hymns, worshipping the Lord, the flower garlands, the scented articles piled up, hearing them chant the glories of the lotus feet of the Lord. Padam Padam Yadvi Padam Natesham Samashita ye padapalava plavam mahatpadam punya jashomarare bhavambudi vatsa padam 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 yadvi padam padam natesham. That taking shelter of his lotus feet, the destroyer of the demon Murari, the miseries in the material world, bhavambudi vatsa padam padam padam. Bhavambudi vatsa padam become just like the water in the hoof print of a calf. So easy to cross over by one who remembers the lotus feet of Murari, the killer of the Murari demon. And hearing these prayers, this glorification of the lotus feet, seeing the lotus feet of the Lord, Mahaprabhu began to display symptoms of love of Godhead. This is Leela. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now he's going to display his symptoms as the Supreme Personality of Godhead in order to satisfy the Navadip Basis. Now here we hear also that Govinda, when he sees these Brajabasis coming running down to the banks of the Jamuna, and he sees their anguish and confusion, at that time he decides, now I will destroy this demon and fulfill the desires of Brajabasis, reciprocate with their desire. But he's waiting for the ideal moment. He's waiting. It's like a drama. He's waiting. They're almost giving up their lives. He's at that point, and then he begins to dance on the hoods. This is amazing. 101 hoods, and whenever one of them would pop up with envy and hate, immediately, boom, his lotus feet would stamp on that head and crush that head. And it was Apurva Darshan. And similarly, when Sachinandan came back from Gayadam and he came home at that time, Ramai, Srivas Thakur's younger brother, went to the house of Jagannath Mishra in order to receive him. So many of the Navadip respectable residents had gathered at the house of Jagannath Mishra to receive Nimai as he returned back from Gayadam. And then Ramai, seeing just when he spoke the name, Padapada Tirtha, the tears that were incessantly flowing from his eyes, they flooded the flower garden in Sachiangan. And he began to display such symptoms of love of Godhead. And then the next morning, Ramai, at Srivas Angan, all the Vaishnavas are there collecting flowers. Every day they're doing puja. They're all collecting flowers. Parama Adbhut Kotha, Maha Ashambhav, Nimai Pandit Hoilo, Parama Vaishnav. Ramai is completely overwhelmed with joy. All the Vaishnavas say, what is it? You're so happy today. Yes, there's amazing news. Parama Ashambhav. What is that news? And then here, Parama Ashambhav, Parama Adbhut Kotha. Parama Adbhut, this is an amazing thing. Parama Adbhut Kotha. We have the Adbhut Mandir, unprecedented Mandir in Navadip, and we have the Parama Adbhut Kotha, the unprecedented news. Parama Adbhut Kotha, Nimai Pandit Hoilo, Parama Vaishnav, Maha Ashambhav. Parama Adbhut Kotha. This is the most unprecedented thing. Parama Ashambhav. This is impossible. Parama Ashambhav. This is the most impossible thing. Parama Ashambhav. Nimai Pandit Hoilo, Parama Vaishnav. Nimai Pandit has become a Vaishnav. And not just an ordinary Vaishnav, he's become a Param Vaishnav. But he says this is Parama Ashambhav. The impossible has been fulfilled. What does that mean? What does that mean, Ashambhav? It's not possible for Nimai to become a devotee? No. It means that the impossible desires that we thought would never be fulfilled have been fulfilled. That thing that we thought would never happen, Nimai Pandit will become a devotee. The impossible, that has happened. Maha Ashambhav. So in this way, through such activities of covering himself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the devotees become fully merged in their familiar relationship with him, and in this way he's able to fully enhance, enrich, deepen their emotional experience of loving him, being absorbed in him. And these are some of the extraordinary features of Brajadam that are revealed in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. Is there any questions today? We have 10 minutes. Is there any questions or comments? Ram Rup Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you for the nice narration. I am having a doubt whether it's Bhagavatam class or Chaitanya Charitamrita class. But it's very wonderful. I am, like you are saying that actually, whether it is Lord Ramchandra or Lord Vamandev, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they all had to hide that they are Supreme Personality of Godhead. But in the case of Krishna, right from his birth, he exhibited himself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But only Vrajavasis, they could not understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Otherwise, Krishna is known as Bhagavat Avatar, means complete Purna Purushottam Bhagavan. Then he always exhibited himself as the Supreme Personality of God. That is the speciality of Krishna's appearance in this world. What do you say?
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Go by shop, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu, for a wonderful class. I remember in Bhakti Shastri class, you used to give wonderful lectures. I enjoyed a lot. Same is going on with you. Thank you so much. My point is, Krishna is always playing tricks with gopis, gopas, Mother Yashoda, and all, so many of his associates. And Lord Chaitanya is also hiding his status Supreme Lord. And everywhere we can see Krishna is very tricky. So then devotees are supposed to be very sadhus, straightforward. So, but then devotees are also, there are so many tricky devotees. Then they are not seen in good light, good color. So how you can explain this?
I don't see how it's related so much to what we discussed today as about devotees. I don't see any trickery here. Krishna is covering his opulence as the Supreme Personality of Godhead in order to facilitate the devotees. They forget he's God, so that they're just like a cow is thinking of the calf. There's no trickery there. I don't see. I have no comment on that. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you for the nice class. I remembered Uddhava saying in the first or second canto, that the Yadus, they could not understand the importance of Krishna, just like the fishes, they could not understand the importance of the moon.
Yeah.
So the casualness of the Yadus with Krishna is condemned there, and here the casualness of Vrajavasis is glorified. So what is the difference?
Well, there's different, in the different realms where the Lord is worshipped, there's a different appropriate bhavs, right? The different appropriate bhavs. So, in that way, according to the desire of the devotee, one can be placed in the appropriate association, so that one is a supportive environment to have to reciprocate with the Lord according to one's heart's desire. So the different bhavs are there, and Vaikuntha is a different bhav. Even Vasudev Datta and Mukunda Datta. Mahaprabhu is giving the example that one is worshipping him in the mood of Vaidhi, and one is worshipping him in the mood of Rag. And Mahaprabhu said that you shouldn't mix in that way. So the different environments are there, and according to the desire of the devotee, the association supports that bhav, and therefore you can go to Vaikuntha, you can go to Dwarka, worship the Lord in that way. All the devotees have that mood. Or you can go to Vrindavan, where even though occasionally, Ramrupa Prabhu was saying that Krishna displays his opulence, particularly in killing demons in Vrindavan, but the devotees, they even, for example, Prabhupada says when you take the what is that? The rice beating machine. Even you take it to Swarga, it will still beat rice. So I will answer the question relating something about Chaitanya Charitamrita, that even in a dream, the Jagannath Mishra, he's completely forgetting that Sachinandan is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All the Brahmins, they come, they're making complaints. We can't take bath. We have to take bath three times every day. And they enumerate all of the mischievous that he does. And hearing this, there's not just one person coming to Jagannath Mishra and saying, they all gathered together in a group. It's like, it's hard to refuse when there's 30, 40 people there, all united together and making the complaints. So Jagannath Mishra he's extremely traumatized and perturbed hearing this. He runs off to the Ganga with the stick in hand. He's looking up and down. Where is Nimai? Where is he? Nimai. And the cowherd boys, the students, they're saying, he hasn't even come to Ganga today. Hasn't even come. So still, Jagannath Mishra, he's fuming with anger. So in a dream, an effulgent Brahmin appeared before Jagannath Mishra. And he said that you're chastising your son. This is inappropriate. You're thinking that you should correct him. He's on the level of the Supreme Lord Narayan. Your correction for him is useless. He's in the dream, the Brahmin is telling him that your son is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That'd be a pretty exciting dream to have, huh? And then he answers the Brahmin in the dream. Mishra kohe, Dev Siddhi Muni kene noi, Jaishe Bodohok matro amatanoi. Mishra kohe, Dev Siddhi Muni kene noi. Yes, he may be a perfected being, Siddhi. He may be a great Muni, a great sage. He may even be Dev Siddhi Muni. He may even be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What is that? Jaishe Bodohok, no matter who he is, no matter how big he is, matro amar tanai, as far as I'm concerned, he's my son. and I have to give him an education. So this is the bhav, that even they're saying that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You can't act with him in such an intimate way. He says, yes, he may be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but I'm his father, and it's my responsibility to correct him. So you have to go to the environment where you have the appropriate bhav, and in that way you can serve the Lord in the association of others with a similar bhav. Any other questions? Yes, Prabhu. Announcement. Okay, so we're finished. Kantrad Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Shamaveta Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki.
Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada की, Srila Prabhupada भगवद गीता मैराथन की। तो कल शाम को गौर आरती के उपरांत परम पूज्य गोपाल कृष्ण महाराज ने इस्कॉन जुहू का मैराथन का उद्घाटन किया है तुलाभार के माध्यम से। अभी तुलाभार दूसरा होगा परम पूज्य भक्ति अनुग्रह जनार्दन स्वामी महाराज का। ये ब्रजवासी हैं, तो यहाँ पर सभी भक्तों को अनुरोध है, वहाँ आए, कीर्तन करेंगे हम और महाराज का ये तुलाभार होगा। ये दोनों महान वैष्णव के द्वारा हमारा मैराथन शुरू हो रहा है, तो सब भक्त उत्साह से उधर कीर्तन के लिए आएँ। हालांकि महाराज का थोड़ा शारीरिक वजन कम है, लेकिन भक्ति का वजन बहुत बड़ा है, ब्रजवासी हैं, तो कृपया आप सब लोग उधर कीर्तन के लिए आइए। धन्यवाद। हरे कृष्णा।